The school of the prophets expanded to the point that they needed more room. They decided to build next to... Now, hang on just a moment. Let me describe this as best I can. Anytime you have a river, there's water for vegetation, there's bigger trees, a lot more vegetation. The ground may be somewhat buildable in places, and in places it won't be buildable. You can't build any structure on it. But they found a place on the Jordan, and they're going to move and build a new school closer to the Jordan River. Every man decided to bring a beam to build a place there. What they mean is that they were going to hewn out a piece of timber, a log, to build the structure. Elijah gave his approval. One man was consented to go, borrowed an axe from his neighbor. Now, in this time and day, metal was a precious commodity, almost as good as gold and silver is today, especially gold. But metal was hard to come by and was very expensive. And this tool that this gentleman borrowed was not fitted properly. It was loose on the axe handle, on the handle of the wedge, or as it calls here, axe. While he was cutting wood, the head of the axe flew off and sunk in the Jordan. Now, according to the law of Moses, he was liable for that tool. The man told Elijah. The prophet, what it would have done was it had cost him a lot of money because he had to repay that. The man told Elijah, the prophet showed Elijah where the axe head had fallen into the river. Elijah cut a stick. Now, it doesn't say what kind of stick this was, but there was a lot of them laying around and a lot of them on the ground. So we don't know, he cut it, and Elijah cut a stick and cast it into the river. And the axe head began floating. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my brother gave me the axe that our daddy used and trained us how to use an axe when we were growing up. I've got that axe. It needs a new handle in it. It don't mean nothing to you guys, but to me, it's symbolic, and it means a lot to me because it was my daddy's axe, and it was given to him by his aunt, my great aunt. The son of the prophet recovered the lost axe head and rejoiced greatly, I'm sure. I'll let you come up with any other stories you want to on that. I think it's kind of humorous. I think it's very symbolic. I think it is God's work in action as to who a prophet is and what a prophet could do. Moving on into chapter 6, verses 8 through 23. This section of the narrative relates the stories of Elisha. Let me reread that. This section of the narrative relates the stories of Elijah's influence on the political circumstances of his day. These incidents, though not specifically stated, probably occurred during the reign of King Jehoram of Israel, based on its place in the book of Kings. And as you see, Jehoram served for 12 years, and Elijah has gone on, and Elisha has taken over. My fault in updating that. Beginning in verses 8 through 23 of chapter 6, 2 Kings, Syria made war by sending guerrilla bands against Israel. The Syrians made their war plans to camp in the certain place. But Elijah sent word to the king of Israel telling him where the Syrians were camped. This happened on several occasions. The Syrian king thought he had a spy in the camp and tried to expose him. One of his servants replied that there is no spy among them but Elijah the prophet that is in Israel. Telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in their bedchamber. The most private part of any household is the bedchamber or the bedroom. In verse 13, the king of Syria decided that he must find and capture Elijah if he were going to attack Israel successfully. He asked his men to find out where Elijah was. They searched and